Greetings Internet and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. In this episode I'll be doing turn 5 of the Moscow campaign Strike and Counterstrike Russia 1941. I say turn 5 because this is when the going gets tough for the Germans. They no longer get the bonus cube, which is the extra odds, and it's raining. The Soviets don't seem to be affected by the rain, but the Germans do. And the effect of the rain is that their movement is halved and their combat value on the attack is halved. So they've lost their teeth. Well, let's get down to the map. Let's see what's going on and see what the Germans can actually do in this situation. The other thing about rain means that next turn is muddy. Okay, so let's zoom right out so you can see the overall front line. So there's a push back here. Germans just haven't got any strength to get up there. That is their armoured fist. I mean, it's a bit more of a slap now, and not even a slap, maybe a little bit of a tickle, because that's all they got left. What to do as the Germans? The drive on Moscow, so with the Russians, you can see I've built a really strong front line. Any attacks by these guys, attacks are halved. They're not halved again for being either a supply or the rain. The attack, but the movement, they're pretty much going to be able to move one hex. So do we push, causing as many losses as possible, or do we try and come back to the supply, because that's the maximum extent of the supply at the present moment, come back into supply and try and maybe cut these guys off, creating as many losses as possible, even though it's going to take, because you determine supply at the moment, beginning of movement, but you can then and also at the moment of combat. So even if these guys do come back, maybe push here, they're not going to do very much. You can only move one hex effectively, but we've got to continue the moving forward here to create the front line. But I think it might be getting to this point where Moscow is unachievable. But literally, how far are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 7 hexes from Moscow. The Germans start receiving victory points for Moscow. 5 victory points for the Germans for each German unit, supplied or not, within 4 or 5 hexes of Moscow at the end of the game. That's actually not bad. 5 victory points for the Germans for each German unit. Is it worth grinding through? And then 5 hexes, so we only need to be one. If we're maybe it's like rethink. If we're here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That's 4. So we actually only need to be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just double check that. 5 victory points for the Germans for each German unit within 4 or 5 hexes. 10 victory points for each German unit within 3 or less hexes. So maybe we don't have to take Moscow. If we can breach this line, maybe taking a bit of attrition. Yes, the Russians are getting a lot of reinforcements, but they're not that heavy, in the sense that there's a lot, but it's definitely not making up for what they've lost. We're talking, let me just bring the camera, This is what OK, is it OKW or no, OKH on the Eastern Front, wasn't it? So this is the Soviet reinforcements to the end of the scenario. So this term we're talking 3, so it's 4 units. 4 units. And it's 5, 6, and then 5, 6, 7. So 7 plus 6 is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21 more units. It might be worthwhile continuing that push to Moscow. We're going to cross this. See, the attack across the river are at -2. Can we mass an overrun? No, we're going to need 66, aren't we? Because it's got to be 11 to 1. If we even get to that unit there, it's got strength of 3. We would need 33 to overrun. Remember, these are half. Yeah, that's going to be 66. There's no way we're going to get 66. There's no overruns. But doesn't mean we can't attack. Yeah, but the odds are going to be really low, aren't they? So if we say attack that at 3, we'll be attacking with even with the best odds 6. We just have to breach the river. So this is the most exposed position. What can we actually get to attack it? Remember, we can always move. We can't always move 1 hex. We can, if we're not going from a zone of control to a zone of control, so going from there to there, we can't do it. Because that would be 5 movement points, and we've only got 4. In actual fact, we've got 2. Okay, so if he's got a defense of 1, 2, 3, we could get against him 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, plus another 12, 27, 28, 29, 30. 30 halved to 15 to 3. 5 to 1. Best result we can get is we can get a defender retreat. There's a -2 on the dice because behind the bloody river. No. So even at 3 to 1, 5 to 1, these combat results are really harsh. Exchange. We can't get an exchange because at 5 to 1, they're on a 5 or 6, we're at -2, so we can get a defender retreat, both retreat, or attacker retreat. That might not be too bad, attacker retreat, to be honest, because then we can bring the armor back round. What can we get against that hex there? We've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, plus 6, 27, half of 27. $13, that'll be 4 to 1. There you've got an attacker eliminated result on a -1. So rolling a 1, and we'd look, no, we can't risk that. This combat results table is harsh. I think we're going to have to bite the bullet on we're just going to realise we're going to have to accept some losses. So they can't even afford to move. They could pull back. That's it. So let's see if we can break the line. That will be pretty much it. In that sector. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the max we said. So going in here, that should be out of supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that moves to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're looking at just marking out what the extent of, so attacking these positions will be out of supply. Oh, excuse me. I mentioned in the previous video, yeah, I basically shot turn 4 and 5 straight after each other, and my throat is really sore. I can't see a way through. Not on those odds. You know, normally 3 to 1's good. But we're needing 6 to 1 on this table. This is extremely harsh. Very frustrating. They just cannot amount any feasible attack. We don't want to expose. So I'm gonna can't move into a zone of control, but we can protect what we've got. All right, let's start moving some of this armor back. 1, 2, as far as it goes. The rain and being out of supply. Disrupted unit cannot move. One, 2. Actually, I'll tell you what. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, let's bring out some of this infantry. So they're moving half, so effectively it's 1, 2. 1, 2, yeah, halved. There's no rounding up, so 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Can't use rail movement. 1. Okay, so we're now getting to where they are starting to be in supply. But it's still, because of the rain, halves their movement. So it costs 2 movement points, 3 movement points to move in a zone of control. So they're not going to be able to even get there, so that's as best as they can do. to leave a zone of control. Cost 2 movement points, but they're not moving from a zone of control to a zone of control, so that's fine. The more stuff, so we're going to try something in this area, maybe next turn. As many pens as we can get back, and then we can maybe continue the drive there. But we might get something going here. We can get across this river, then we don't have to suffer that -2, but the Russians are going to build another line of units. How do I know that? Well, I'm playing the Russians. Okay. So one, can't even go any further than that. Can't go into that zone of control because it costs 3 additional movement points. Those can go there. They can cross that. I can place a breach marker. The reason why I'm playing a breach is because if I don't, every time I cross that hex side until there's a breach marker in there, it costs 2 additional movement points. Can I find a breach marker? There we go. Can't go in there, so they clicked across and that's about it. Moving along the rest of the front, there's no movement. So as we move up to the north there, the EB units move forward, which is the rail conversion, but up here, no overruns, combat phase. Alright, so we got here 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 3 to 1. 3 to 1. It's not good. On a 1, it's attacker eliminated. Cannot afford those kind of losses, so no attack there. So it might be just 1 attack going in here. So let's just see if it's actually worth doing this. 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus another 6 is 15 from that hex. Plus 15 from that hex. So it's a total of 30. Halved, because it's out of supply. 15. 15 to 3. 5 to 1. Okay. 5 to 1. Wow. That's those 2 hexes there. Sorry if that was slightly off camera, I do apologise. 5 to 1, no modifier. Sorry, that's not true. -2 because they're behind a river. If all attacking units are attacking through river hex side, subtract 2. Alright, we need a 6. Ah, disaster. 5 to 1. I say disaster. It's attack or retreat. Okay. Interesting. Overstacking. Okay, that's a rules mistake on my behalf. I was expecting it, yeah. I've been playing a lot of games recently which allow pass through on a retreat. In this game it doesn't. So they would definitely not be there, which would allow them to retreat. Yes, that's a slight fudge, but I am playing both sides. So let me just ask the Soviet player, is that okay? Yeah. There we go. So that's it. Yeah, that was the best odds they could get. Okay, so we now have the mechanized movement phase. We're going to see if we can get 1, 2. Actually, the other unit. 1, 2. 1, 2. One, 2. Might as well turn this over now. We'll be able to move. 1, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And 1, 2. Trying to get them back into supply so they could do something here in the last, well, this is turn 5, so we've got 6, 7, 8, last 3 turns. But even so, this is still the maximum supply. Well, this has gone up a little bit now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. That's about here. I think that's pretty much as good as going to get for the Germans. That's the end of the German mech phase. We're going to go now into the Russian turn. Yep. Haha. And it's the first time the Russians actually have taken no losses. Not a single counter was removed. And they gain an additional 3 infantry and 1 armour. Well, they know there's not much further the Germans can go. As long as we can keep that front line tough here, it's going to take, I mean, next turn is mud. So the Germans are going to move 1 hex per turn. All I can think of is that if actually we move up to the Germans, no, that -2 for the route, they don't need to. They just don't need to move in this sector. Pull back a little bit here, and I think that'll be all the Russians need to do. You can always move 1 hex. Boom. 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 Yeah, everything else here is fine. Bringing the the new units in, it might be, they can move by rail up to sort of here, here, starting to create a second line if necessary, because that's the only real route the Germans can still go through. This part of the front line doesn't need to move. The top part of the front line doesn't need to move, and even the southern sector doesn't really need to move. They have the continuous front using those EB units, so the front line is stabilised. That river line there has proved really effective, because that was -2. So Russians don't have to attack, not at the moment. So that could be one of the quickest turns. We just move the units up the front. That was 4 rail movement points. No attacks. We know the mud's now coming in, and the Germans are only going to be able to move 1 hex. Let's bring this back up to the top. I think that's game over. I don't see any point in continuing this any further. I tried a little bit on that German turn 5 with it, but it's just getting worse because the mud's going to slow them down. So I'm going to give my final thoughts. The final thoughts is that combat results table is nasty. I appreciate that both sides have got a different combat results table. The German one is a little bit more deadlier, but still at 3-1, potentially on a 1, suffering the chance of an attacker eliminated, it creates a more static front, because there's no way the Germans can attack anywhere in that northern sector or where their infantry are. And again, that might be what the designer was trying to get. I have heard, I can't remember where I saw it or read it, that the combat results tables were incorrect in this game, but I've seen no errata. I just somewhere I read probably on either Consim World or someone's Facebook comment or whatever, said that the combat results table was corrected in Kursk. Well, I haven't got Kursk, so I don't know what the combat results table is like. I do have Army Group Centre, Destruction of Army Group Centre. So let me have a quick look at that and see what it says. I'm looking through Destruction of Army Group Centre, which you can say uses the same system. Combat results seem a little bit fairer. 3-1, the best result you can get is a defender retreat. The worst result is attacker retreat. At 6-1, you get your first DE, which you get on that chart as well. And there's only one combat results table for both sides. But, it seems a little bit more forgiving. The Russian units are a little bit stronger. 3-4s rather than 1-4s. German infantry is pretty much the same. This is 1944, 2-5s. So, I don't know how good this particular game is. But the combat results seems a little bit fairer. But the terrain effects are slightly different. Rather than -2 on the dice, units attacking through river hex size for half. So again, little tweaks. And I know it uses the same system as France 1940. I don't know what the combat results table is like on that. But on this, and again, it could be a design for effect, but it is nasty. Let's put that all back in this little envelope. Yes, it all seems fun when we've got the Germans going on at in clear weather, and they can get those 11-1s and the overruns and such forth, as you've seen by the Soviet losses in those first 4 turns. But when it gets into the winter or the mud, stops it completely. And again, that's maybe designed for effect. But does it make a good game? Well, those first 4 turns for the Germans were fun. And also for the Russians, because they've got the problems like, where do I pull? How do I get the line, stop this German offensive? But, and I think, maybe playing the full campaign, you're going to have like, I think it's 8 turns of mud. I'm trying to think back when I played this. It got me into the game, or into wargaming. I can't remember what scenario I played. I can't even remember which side I played. I know I got my arse kicked in the first game, and I did the arse kicking in the second game. And if it was the Soviets, both, first time I played the Germans and got my arse kicked, and the second time I played the Russians. The first scenario, historical scenario, is definitely not balanced. There's no way the Germans. Well, I say no way. I mean, maybe I didn't play it as proficiently as I could do. Realizing that river line now, would I go slightly east of that line, west of that line, and drive up between that river line where the Soviets held up and into that fortified belt? Maybe I pushed too far to the east of the arm until they got out of supply. So it could be worth a multiple replay. The way I played it, though, it didn't work in the end because the Soviets were able to establish that line on the river. I can't remember the name of the river. And the Germans only needed to go 2 more hexes forward to start getting victory points for getting close to Moscow. But they're not getting through that front line. And now with mud for the next 3 turns, they're not even able to redeploy. Hence why I'm calling it at this point. I do like to play scenarios to the conclusion, but I think we've reached a natural conclusion in this. So the question is, what do I do now? I was tempted to look at a latter scenario, one of the later scenarios, with the Soviets on the counterattack. So we're looking at, again, there's 24 scenarios in this booklet. So we're looking at this 4 scenarios which do just turns 24 to 31. So what's that? 8 turns as well, isn't it? 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Yeah, 8 turns. Starting from December 3. So December. So we're talking about the Soviet counteroffensive. Soviets get an order of battle. Germans get an order of battle, which is different. And then again, you have wet dream scenarios where the Germans get great reinforcements or not. So it might be worthwhile doing a historical one of that to see what the Soviets are like on the counteroffensive. But I can't see me sitting here for 31 turns where, as I say, what you're looking at from turn 6 through to 15 are mud. I know the Germans suffered it in the campaign, but that will give the Soviets a lot of time to get reinforced their front line, as the Germans just can't go anywhere. When it freezes, the effect of freeze is what? It's in the effect of mud. So turns 20 through to 31 is winter, mechanized units only, movement outs cut to half, combat strength cut in half when attacking. And freeze, turn 16 through to 31, all lakes and rivers are frozen, no longer affect combat. Yeah. Well, I enjoy playing it to the point where there's just nowhere for the Germans to go. And I will do that other, the Soviet counteroffensive, but not straight away. I've got other games that are sitting banging on the table want me to do. Am I frustrated with it? No. I can see the design intent, and I think that first scenario is to show, you know, the Germans just didn't have the oomph to get there. There might be a better way of, you know, looking again at scenario 1, turns 1 to 8. You've got different German order of battles and reinforcement rates. So additional forces from France. So B, September order battle including additional mobile forces taken from Army Group South and things like that, which might help the overall drive. And the front lines will be closer to Moscow. So there's a lot of replayability in here. It just depends on, what's the word I'm looking for? Your tolerance level for not being able to do very much. You know, I could imagine if you're playing the full campaign, the full 31 turns, and you get to turn 6 and that mode cuts it, you're going to be, as the Germans, sitting there doing, right, okay, nothing much happens, I move 1 hex. Being able to mount an attack, lucky. That comma results table is going to ensure that you're not going to, there's no point attacking at 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, because you're going to take more losses than the Russians. And again, there's no point in the Russians attacking because they can't even mount those 3 to 1, 4 to 1 odd attacks. I mean, a Russian attack at 3 to 1 is the best result they're going to get is defender retreat on a 6. Then lots of both retreats. Yeah, it's almost identical to the Germans at 3 to 1. It's when you get to the likes of 6 to 1, half exchange as exchange. Germans get DE at best results. In fact, the Russians don't suffer from disruption. So I haven't seen a Soviet attack because there's just been no need to attack, which is unfortunate. Again, hopefully when I do the latter scenario, we will see the Soviets on the attack and see what they can amount. Yeah. Final conclusion. This is a good game if you want to get people to learn hex and counter, zones of control, movement, overrun, etc. And not choosing a historical scenario might be, from the German player point of view, if the Germans had that a little bit more push, they might be able to get closer to Moscow. And again, if they went a slightly different route. I don't know. But I had fun playing it. I hope you had fun watching it. Any comments would be much appreciated. And, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Could have done this way. Or if you played this in the past, let me know. Did you get to Moscow as the Germans? It's tough. Play games. Have fun. We are in the festive season when this can, so enjoy your holidays. Try to be sort of, I'm not going to be playing. Merry Christmas. There you go. Have fun. Play games. Merry Christmas. I've just repeated myself. So what? Until next time. Bye, Internet.